Hey there, Mr. Redder here. Welcome back to another episode of r/entitled People's Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today. Sell unsanitary skin products? I'll get your business shut down. After that, I'm suing my ex's stepdaughter if she doesn't pay for what she broke. And after that, my own mother isn't inviting me to her wedding. Now for every thumbs up this video gets, one Karen does not get to sell dirty skincare products. Don't blame your skin issues on me, Reddit boy. It's not my fault you look like a ghost. So please smash that like button and subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. Sell unsanitary skincare products? I'll get your business shut down. I'm 24, female. My friend, who's 25, female, has been struggling a lot financially ever since we graduated college. She lives in a really broken down house with a bunch of health hazards as she's not a clean person. She has 4 dogs and they go to the bathroom on the floor and she barely mops or dusts the place. She also has a bad roach infestation. How people live is not my business, but my friend also started a homemade skincare company. I went to her house one day to drop off some celebratory cake for my fiance and I's engagement party, which she could not attend. When I got there, I saw her making some body butter in a mixing bowl. She dropped a lot of the powder she was using on the floor and just sweeped it back up and put it into her bowl. I told her she shouldn't sell that, but she said that it was fine and that she had done stuff like that before. I was disgusted and quietly left. She's given free samples to our friends before, and most of the time they've broken out or got some kind of reaction after using it. Nobody ever said anything as to not discourage her, but this was so unsanitary and unsafe. She's pretty popular and good at advertising, so quite a few people have bought her things. She has about 4,000 followers, and a lot of people have complained, but she just deletes those comments. Mind you, these are all locals from our city. I texted her about it and told her to stop doing that, and she told me to stop meddling. I was honestly so fed up and thought about how dangerous this was for customers and made a public post exposing her, and she lost a lot of her followers and her reputation was ruined. She basically lost her source of income, and people started demanding money and threatening lawsuits. One girl claimed she had broken out so bad in hives, she doesn't even list ingredients, that she had to get some sort of life-saving shot. My friend group is very angry at me, and they've said mean things. I do feel bad because my friend already is struggling. I don't know if I can even call her my friend anymore. She's losing her income and possibly facing legal problems now because of me. But I really wanted to protect those people. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. You probably saved someone's life by shutting her down. Not the jerk, exactly. She has no regard for the safety and wellness of the people purchasing her nasty stuff, and it's a good thing you made people aware. Not the jerk. What your friend did is gross. I don't want to put stuff on my face that touched the floor that probably had doggy doo on it. She needs to get a proper job to help her for the time being until she starts saving enough to then start a skincare company. Maybe try to give her some advice on ways to earn money. She could get a job if she has the qualifications. OP, we've all been trying to help her get a job, but she's been set on cosmetics and having her own business. Her degree in psychology won't get her a job in our city, and she doesn't want to work a cashier or cleaning job, etc. Not the jerk. Imagine if someone allergic to dog hair used her products. The lawsuit would have been way worse then. You did the right thing. You're the jerk. Jealous much? Why you playing with her money though? You really think those big factories care about customers' health? All natural ingredients like what she was using are way better than the stuff corporations use. You reported her out of spite to shut down her business, and now people have to go back to using corporations' products instead of homemade. I hope she sues you for the damages you've caused her business. I own a daycare that might not be the cleanest place in town, but you know what? At the end of the day, I provide a service that helps people. Don't complain about a little bug bite that happened at my house as if it was my fault. Everybody's homes have a few bugs here and there. I can't even keep my dogs inside because parents who know nothing about animals want to complain about it instead of teaching their kids to not touch animals without permission. Newsflash, if your kid is going around poking random dogs, he just might get bit. I'm good though. I clean a few houses on weekends and these people got buku money, so they don't even notice when I take stuff and go straight to the pawn shop. All I'm trying to say is don't play with people's money. It's hard out here. The last thing people should have to worry about are so-called friends trying to shut down their hustle when they getting money. Bruh. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or her friend? Please let us know. My brain is still trying to process that last comment we just read. I'm suing my ex's stepdaughter if she doesn't pay for what she broke. I, male 38, have been separated from my ex-wife for almost 14 years. She's married now and has 2 stepdaughters. This one involved the older one, Anna, who's 17, I think. Our older daughter, Diane, who's 16, is really into calligraphy. My parents gave her a Japanese calligraphy brush as a gift for having a great school year. We came back from a trip and left them with her mother. I was just getting home when my youngest called me to return. Once there, they were having an argument, and my ex-wife and her wife were trying to mediate. Diane said that Anna stole her brush and broke it. Anna says she took it with permission from Diane. Not true, we checked, and she accepted breaking it, but replaced it with another one, a cheap one. My ex-wife and her wife claimed that it was not a big deal and Anna replaced it. I disagree and told them that either Anna or them have to order a new one or give the money for us to do it. They were willing to do it until Diane told them how much it would cost, $3,000. That's when they flipped the lid and asked why I'm buying something that expensive. I told them it's none of their business or the point. Besides, it was a gift from my parents, not me. They refused and said they can't do it without taking a hit in their finances. I told them that I don't care and they need to pay for it or I would be taking legal action against Anna since she admitted to taking it and breaking it. I told them to be quick because the brushes are limited. Our daughter decided to come with me and took their important things with them. My ex-wife, her parents, and her wife are blasting my phone saying I would ruin Anna's future and that I'm putting our daughters against them and ruining the relationship. We've been co-parenting really well, but I don't know. I think I'm being reasonable. She's not a kid anymore. They wouldn't be shocked if it was a high-end tablet, would they? Just because they don't value the value of an item, it doesn't mean it doesn't have value. Good luck getting the value back. Not the jerk. Not the jerk. Anna is 17, not 7, almost an adult. She's old enough to know that she shouldn't take something that doesn't belong to her. By the way, I believe a limited edition brush can cost $3,000. Like, we see purse companies charging $1,800 for a trash bag. Not the jerk. If a gift that expensive has been broken, then yes, it needs to be replaced correctly. Anna is old enough to know not to take stuff that's not hers. It sounds like Anna is trying to lie on Diane. Diane said it was taken without permission, while Anna said she asked for it. Clearly she didn't ask for it. Definitely take them to court if they don't buy another one. Well, what do you think? Is OP the jerk for demanding that the brush be replaced or not? Please let us know. $3,000 for the brush? Reddit boy, I think we got into the wrong industry. My own mother isn't inviting me to her wedding. I, 15 female, and my mother's, who's 35, only daughter she has from her previous marriage. She has 3 kids, the rest being 18 and 16. They're boys. This is important to know. Last week, my mom was talking with one of her friends about the color she wanted the bridesmaid dresses to be. My mom had been planning this wedding with her new boyfriend for the past 2 months or so. They've been engaged for about 1 year. The wedding is in December and on the day before my birthday. Me and my mom have been planning a party for me around the same time she was for the wedding. She insisted it was all right and that her boyfriend and her would go on their honeymoon the next day. While she was talking, I asked her when we were going to look for my dress since she had asked me to be the flower girl. I could see the disappointed look on her face when I asked her, which confused me. She responded only a few minutes later and said, "We'll talk about it later." A few hours later, my mom came to me. I thought she was going to talk about the dress situation, but instead, she set me down and explained how her new boyfriend thought it would be a better fit for their 3 daughters to lead the wedding. Whatever, I was cool with that. But it's important to note that my mom had always wanted all the girls. I was a girl, but I had looked too much like my father, which caused a strain in our relationship. My dad explained to me how my mother had postpartum when she had me and just couldn't connect with me because of it. So when she gave birth to my 3 younger step-siblings, who all looked like her, triplets who are 6 years old, she was obviously overjoyed. It hurt to see, but I was happy for her. My brothers had a similar experience, but were significantly better because they looked more like her. I know this is an overdramatic thing to say, but sometimes I feel like because my mother didn't feel as connected with me at birth was because I was a letdown right out the gate. After she was done, I asked her again about the dress because I still didn't have one. Again, that same disappointed look on her face came before telling me I wasn't invited to the wedding, simply because her boyfriend thought I would upset his family because I was from my mom's previous marriage and he didn't like my dad. She also explained how my birthday isn't happening either due to him wanting to go on their honeymoon right away. It turned into a screaming match with me yelling, "I'm sorry I don't look like you enough for you to love me. I'm sorry you were too conceited for you to get over the fact that I look like my dad." I was kicked out by her boyfriend within the same hour because she had cried to him about what I had said. All my brothers know what happened and have now refused to go to the wedding, which upset her even more, though I don't care about how she feels right now. My brothers had an actual relationship with her, and I probably just messed it up by letting my anger get the best of me. Am I the jerk? Edit. I live with my dad full-time. There isn't any custody agreement that I know of. I usually visit my mom on my own free will or when she asks me to come over, so I'm not obligated to go over there. My parents were only married 2 years prior to having my second brother, divorcing after his birth. They dated after the divorce as a way to make up with each other, but it still didn't work out, but they had me. Edit. All my brothers are full blood. The girls my mom had are half blood. I said step because I don't consider them to be related to me because I've never been in the room with them for more than 5 minutes due to my mom not allowing it. My brothers were only invited because her boyfriend actually likes them, and his family getting upset that I would be there was an excuse to exclude me. I honestly don't care anymore about the situation, seeing as how my brothers have my back. As for my dad, he's been threatening to call the authorities, but I've talked him out of it because I don't want to get her daughters involved despite there being no relationship. Not the jerk in any way, shape, or form. This makes me so sad for you. Your mom, on the other hand, and her fiance are both major jerks. Won't wait for your friend before we seat your table? Okay, follow me. I work for a chain restaurant as a hostess. There's about 150 to 200 locations across the country. It's a Southern-style restaurant and we line dance. That's just for reference. Considering this is not a small chain, we have corporate policies that all locations have to abide by. One of those policies is that we cannot seat an incomplete party. If you put your party in for 4 people, we have to be able to count all members of your party before we take you to your table. This allows for all members to be able to order their food at the same time and have faster table turnout. This policy has some guests grumbling, but most wait until they have a full party, except this one lady yesterday. She calls in for a party of 6 on our call-ahead wait list. On the phone, we make sure to tell every guest that they need to show up with the entire party. We send her a text to check in when the party is ready, and she does so. We page her to come inside, and lo and behold, there are only 5 members. I tell her we need to see that 6th member before we can seat them. No issue there, she goes back outside. 15 minutes later, she comes back in and says they're all here. I and my other hosts still only count 5 people. She makes a scene, saying it's ridiculous, and I direct her to the sign on the host stand that clearly states our policy. She said her 6th guest could be up to an hour late. I tell her no matter how late someone may be, we have to stick to our policies. I said it more professionally, but you get the gist. She looks to her husband, presumably, and turns back to me and says, "He's not coming anymore. Can we be set now?" Here's the malicious compliance. Most people know that tables come in the ability to seat in even numbers, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, etc. She figured if she was a party of 5 and we set her at a 6 top, then her other party member would be able to sit. I tell her, okay, no problem. I'll remark you as a party of 5. I set her at a 4 top with a chair on the end. Boom! 5 tabletop for a 5-member party. Already limited space, and no way could another member sit down. She asks to sit somewhere else, and I tell her that the restaurant is packed, and if she had renamed her party as a party of 5 earlier, I would have been able to put her at a 6 top. 6th guy comes along almost an hour and a half later, tried to pull up a chair, and my manager told them that more than one chair at the end of a 4 top creates a fire hazard. Sorry, corporate policies. Not sure if this is considered malicious compliance. I'm still getting a hang of this subreddit, but thought I'd share a petty moment working as an underpaid college student in a busy chain restaurant. Edit. Here's a little more info as if it matters, but this lady was making a really huge scene when we said we couldn't seat her. Whether you hate the policy or not, I'm not about to risk my job over one guest who wanted her way and she wanted it now. My 2 weeks are in anyhow because of all the drama that happens sometimes, but I figured I'd share. Edit 3. Our call-ahead waitlist doesn't reserve you a table, it just gives you the opportunity to get the table you want first. If you're not there with your full party, your name gets moved down so the next party can be set until you're ready. Had a similar experience at a restaurant with a very strict rule on seating the entire party. This one is in LA and is really popular. Wait times are about 2 hours on average. You show up, put your name and party size down and wait. They don't take reservations. And you have to have the full group before they seat you. We had a huge party, but we split the group up into 2 smaller groups. Our numbers come, and lo and behold, someone is missing. We checked around and asked another party waiting around if one of them would volunteer to take the seat of the person running late, and we had agreed to give them a beer on us, as they warmed the seat for our latecomer. We had a friendly chat with the volunteer. He was happy enough for a seat and a free beer as his group waited. Totally worked. I saw some confused looks by the waitstaff, but hey, we were compliant. Am I the jerk for ruining my sister's vacation? I'm 22 years old. My sister is 26 and has 2 kids, a 2-month-old and a 2-year-old. I always thought she shouldn't have had another kid because she can barely take care of the other one, and most of the time asks other people to take care of them because she can't do it alone. Our mom is one of those people who goes and helps a lot, definitely now that the baby is born. Now for the vacation part. I booked a vacation to a beach a year ago. It was quite expensive, but this is something I really wanted, so I saved up for it. I asked our mom if she wanted to go with me. She said yes. I booked and paid for 2 people. A month before we left for the vacation, my mom said my sister was also coming with us because her boyfriend was away that same week on a bike vacation. There wasn't really a question in it, they just announced it. Afterwards, I went to our mom and said my concerns about how I was afraid I would have no time for myself and I would have to babysit all the time. Something about me, I'm high sensitive, and I get overwhelmed very quickly by constant loud noise, and being an introvert, being around people mentally drains me to the point that I can't do anything anymore but just sleep. They know this. We're now 4 days into the vacation, and everything I feared has come true. I have to constantly keep my 2-year-old busy while my mom and sister are on their phone or taking care of the baby. Even when I go somewhere else to be alone for a second, like lay on my bed or something, he follows and keeps asking to play. I love him, but it gets to be too much for me. The only way they leave me alone is when I'm sleeping, so I've been doing that a lot, which means that I wasn't able to do anything that I wanted to. My sister told me today that I'm ruining her vacation because I make a long face all the time. I don't know if that's an English expression, but in Dutch it means I'm not happy all the time. I was so annoyed. I told her, "What do you mean ruining your vacation? I paid for it. This is my vacation." She began yelling and said that just because I paid for everything doesn't mean I can sit here and ruin it for her. I said, "You invited yourself. I didn't ask you to be here, and you promised I wouldn't have to babysit." She began yelling louder and said I hadn't done anything for the baby. That's a lie. I had given him his bottle a few times and held him while he slept and cried plenty of times. I told her, "Who's been keeping the 2-year-old busy?" She got more angry and said, "Isn't that normal for you to want to play with the 2-year-old as his aunt?" Our mom was looking at me very distraught, because how could I complain about playing with my own nephew? They stormed out and yelled that there really is something wrong with me and I should think about what I said. I've been crying nonstop and I have no clue what to do anymore. They don't talk to me, and I'm stuck here with them until Friday. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. Your sister sucks. And so does your mother. I'm sure she was worried about leaving her older daughter at home with her kids when both she and the father would be away. But it's not fair to ruin her younger daughter's vacation, which she paid for, by inviting the sister along. Not the jerk. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or her mom and sister? Please let us know. No better way to spend your vacation than by taking care of someone else's kids. Am I the jerk for refusing to stay in my husband's childhood home if his parents wouldn't let me wear shoes inside? I have plantar fasciitis, and I'm in the middle of a rotten flare-up. One of the most important aspects of handling it is making sure to keep your arches supported at all times. This means that I basically haven't walked around barefoot for more than a minute here or there for the past 5 years. I have a pair of shoes for inside only. They've never been beyond the front door to my house. Then I have extra supportive other shoes as well. Then I have a pair of travel shoes that I take with me if I'm ever visiting someone's home. Well, I guess that was a huge issue for my mother-in-law because we visited their home for the first time since it started. I thought everything was going to be fine until I switched into my house shoes and she got on my case about no shoes in the house. I explained like I did above, and she just said it's the house rule and has always been. I looked to my husband for support or guidance, and he told his mom that it wasn't a big deal. The shoes have never been outside, etc. Mom wouldn't budge. I really wasn't looking to make my flare-up worse, especially when we had plans to go hiking with them. So I said that if I can't wear them, I'm going to have to probably stay elsewhere or join them outside. Mother-in-law said I was being melodramatic, and then said, "I've had PF before, and I didn't need to wear shoes all the time." I told her that was great, but that it had nothing to do with me. Well, she did eventually cave, and she was pretty passive-aggressive about it all. She kept staring at my feet, staring at the carpet after I'd walked on it, etc. Then when I took out my tennis ball to do my foot exercises while we were just sitting around watching a movie together, she kept huffing and rolling her eyes. So in general, I wouldn't think I was the jerk, but father-in-law took me aside on day 4 and asked me if I could just try to meet her halfway and maybe just wear them when I was walking around in the guest room. He said that they had extended enough hospitality and I could at least try not to be a poor guest. I just said no and told him to talk to my husband about it. He said there was no need for that and just sighed, and that was that. I'm kind of worried I was a nightmare guest. Am I the jerk? First-time poster, long-time reader. I was ready to agree with mother-in-law here because I'm a clean freak and I hate shoes inside. But I read the whole thing and you're basically wearing what amounts to house slippers. Mother-in-law is being melodramatic. I can't imagine treating a guest like that in my house. Not the jerk. Agreed. Shoes in the house is usually a hard no for me, but indoor shoes to me are the equivalent of slippers. Nothing wrong with keeping your feet warm and supported so long as you aren't tracking dirt inside. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or mother-in-law? Please let us know. Is it just me, or does everyone seem to have hard floors now instead of carpet? I kinda miss carpet. Back when I was a kid we had carpet. Injure me, then fire me? Okay, I'll take you to federal court and report your wife for fraud. Earlier this year I was injured on the job. My employer never disclosed his LLC was workman's comp exempt until I was in the parking lot of urgent care. I'm in a bad state for workers' rights, and state law mandates that because my boss had too few employees, he was legally exempt. Because he was workman's comp exempt, I couldn't say the word work at any doctor or my personal health insurance would be voided. An urgent care visit was $100, whereas workman's comp visit billed $1,500. I essentially was forced to twist the truth to get good care. Boss offered to pay medical bills and continued paying salary during recovery. So nice, right? Note, I had worked for nearly 2 years, and during the entire time, my boss had been so nice, giving extra holiday and birthday bonuses, defending me if someone was rude, so just being overall an ethical and honorable stand-up guy. At the 6-week mark to the day, I receive a termination email and letter of recommendation. My now ex-boss says he cares about my physical health, and he worries if I continue working for him, I would get injured, thereby covering himself for personal injury and negligence claim. I reply that I'm temporarily totally disabled. My state also offers no help with this for residents, and asked him that, since he failed to disclose he was workman's comp exempt, if he would do the right thing and replace workman's comp, wages only, for 6 months because it would take me that much or longer to heal. X-rays showed no bone breaks, but MRIs showed tendon and ligament tears, which are actually tougher to heal than bone breaks. I need physical therapy and would maybe require surgery. Radio silence. Crickets. Note, during all my time working, I never missed a day of work and have never been written up once. Now I moved back in to live with my parents because my home is 2 stories and I couldn't walk upstairs. I call workman's comp and personal injury lawyers, 30 plus, who confirm I have 0 grounds for winning a case despite my legitimate injuries. I begin scouring all my work-related documents and texts and discover my boss has logged my payroll as 40 hours per week flat when I averaged 50 to 60-hour work weeks, healthcare field. Note, my boss paid above market rate, so I always felt I'd been paid well, and he had made up for it via bonuses, which is actually illegal to use as an overtime alternative, but I didn't know this until I saw the payroll itemizations. I spend about 20 hours researching what I'm owed specifically, and it's about $10,000 more than the 6 months of cash I originally asked for, since all overtime gives you liquidated damages plus lawyer's fees. I find an employment lawyer for a flat fee of $1,500. All others wanted contingency percentage of my payout, and send a letter saying if he doesn't pay in 15 days, we're taking him to federal court for FLSA violation. The letter my lawyer sent had federal all over them. Now, I wish my boss had stayed radio silent and I could have taken him to court. I had all the documents to win. Unfortunately, my boss replied 2 days later with a check for the lower amount in my email. The good news? My lawyer doesn't check his mail until 15 days later, and when I go to cash the check, there's a stop payment. My lawyer sends a letter saying we're going to also sue for fraud in the inducement. This begins a chain of back and forth letters between my ex-boss and lawyer, with my boss basically pleading us not to sue and paying the original amount. I had to sign a release saying I wouldn't sue for anything else, but my lawyer says the release was written by an amateur, aka my boss and not a real lawyer. I don't consider the fallout the money because my boss has $7 million in the bank, so to him, the payout was nothing. Fallout came after the payout. My boss took down all his ads and websites he had for hiring. I discover his loyal worker of 5 years read all the letters and ends up quitting. She knew I was fired for being injured too, so he's in a big hiring bind. He had pretty high turnovers, and even before all the drama. And I submitted a video to Social Security of my now ex-boss wife driving a golf cart when she claims $30,000 a year income from the state's disability benefits. She was also a jerk to me, and my boss knew she was lying about being blind and didn't care. Hopefully, that will be a new surprise for them coming soon. I'll probably resend the 2-minute video of this golf cart driving blind woman to the state's disability fraud department on a weekly basis. If we had ended on good terms, I never would have reported her. I got in the mid-5 figures payout, but half will be going to rent and medical bills. I still have about 3 months left to heal, during which I can't work because of all the doctor's appointments, etc. I don't feel like a winner because I got a payout, and I'd give it all back for none of this to have happened. Call me on my days off? I guess you're paying me for a call out. Years ago, I worked in the energy industry. My location was manned by a single person working 10-hour days with 8 days on and 6 days off. In the off hours, automation kept things running. During those 8 days, I was on call, so if there was a problem at the location, I was required to drop what I was doing and either log in to fix some issues or drive the 50 miles out to the facility to fix the problem. Company policy stated that if there was a call, regardless if it warranted a response to drive out or if we could handle it remotely through our computer, we got paid for a minimum of 2 hours at time and a half. After a particularly rough shift with lots of nights spent on location, I went on a much-needed set of days off. On my first day off, my counterpart on the other shift called with questions about the problems I had had. I answered and went about resting. The next day, I decided to take a break and go off-grid for the day. When I returned, I had a number of calls from my boss. When I called him back, he reprimanded me and told me that I was an on-call employee, so I need to answer when called. Annoyed, I just said okay, but asked him to follow that up with an email, which he did. We talked more about the problems for about 10 minutes and hung up. That evening, my counterpart called me 3 more times and we talked through some ideas for fixing it. Over the next 4 days I had off, he, my boss, and others working on the issue called many times. Now, remember when my boss said I was an on-call employee and I was required to answer? I added each call to my timesheet. At the end of my 6 days off, I had made just as many hours as I would in my 8-day shift. At the end of the pay period, I was called into the office where he and the district manager demanded that I explain the excessive callouts. I provided the email sent to me by my boss as well as the company policy for calls. They said that was a pretty wide interpretation of both. I countered and said that I had been called and I answered as required by my boss's email, so per policy, I was entitled to call-out pay. They disagreed and called in the vice president and HR, who surprisingly agreed with me. I was paid out for the time, and the rule became that you were only to call off-duty employees in dire emergencies. I was never called on my days off again. Karen mother-in-law tries to force me to change my son's last name. Edit. LEO means law enforcement officer. I'm a mother of a 6-year-old son. I've been with my husband for 3 years. His family is a big, proud family of law enforcement officers, and my husband is a law enforcement officer himself. They love my son as their own, but mother-in-law repeatedly asks about the possibility of giving him the family's last name, as in changing his last name, which belongs to my late husband, then lists the reasons why I should consider it. I gave no clear answers in hopes that she'd drop it. My husband was working when me and my son visited his family last weekend. Mother-in-law asked again when I will finally give my son the family's name. I felt annoyed and said I needed time to think about it to get her off of my back, but brother-in-law chimed in, saying I should feel honored and not even take time to think about it because his family's name and reputation are well known among others. Mother-in-law said by not considering it, I'm creating distance between them and my son and preventing them from being a family under one name. I was mad. I said I wasn't going to do that anytime soon and will wait until my son is old enough to decide. I added that I don't feel it's right to make this decision on my son's behalf, no matter how much his stepfamily loves him. He already has a father that gave him a respectful last name, and so this should be enough, period. Brother-in-law and his cousin chuckled, sarcastically. Mother-in-law and sister-in-law said I was a hypocrite for expecting them to treat my son as their own and yet refused to let them give him their last name. I responded that they're the ones letting a name dictate the kind of relationship they have with my son. I don't understand why it's so important to have my son have their last name. Like, it's supposed to complete him or something. Mother-in-law still argued about it after I said this was between me and my husband and didn't stop, so I left during the dinner, then got a text from mother-in-law thanking me for rudely telling her that her family's last name isn't good enough for me and my son. She said it's my decision to keep my son's last name, but should no longer expect them to treat him as if they are his family after I made it abundantly clear that they are not. Mother-in-law emptied the room she had for when my son visits, and sister-in-law sent her husband to take back the gifts that she gave to my son and made up an excuse for it. I was hurt and consulted mom, who said I should show my in-laws compliance if I wanted benefits for me and my son's future since they have potentials and are well off. My son's current last name is useless at this point, according to her. My husband is conflicted. One minute he's saying his mom kind of has a point. The next he's on the phone yelling at her to stop it, but still thought being rude was not the way. Did I go too far? Was I the jerk? I told my husband I won't be visiting anymore, although he said he could tell them to apologize and drop it. But I feel like this is too big for an apology to fix, even if I seemed rude.
Support our channel by joining as a member today, and we'll give you a shout out in our next video.
Or come watch this video next. You won't believe what Karen does in that one.